and I'm in direct edit mode. There we go. And what the question was, or is, and it's more of a statement, I guess, than a question, is that if somebody's letting me know they can't hear me. Lisa, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. There is a slight bit of an echo, but I can make out what you're saying.
All right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, just so that everything's crystal clear. And if you want to be unmuted, maybe raise your hand, and then we can unmute you. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So we're talking about Ascribe Coder. We're in the code book, and we're in direct edit mode. I've unlocked the code book, turned on direct edit mode. And the question or the statement is that when you change, say you change an output ID, which I did right now. I guess I should go back and show you guys. I have the output ID and the counts showing. Let me turn on the input ID too. If you change the output ID, and then, change the next output ID. There we go. Backspace. And then maybe the next one. It only changes the output ID, and that's exactly right. We don't have a setting that says make the input ID what the output ID is, or vice versa. That is how it works in direct edit mode. All right? Now, some of you may not be aware, but we do also have this feature when the code book is locked or unlocked to toggle the focus so that you can go through your codes with your arrow key and hit enter to open that up, and then tab so you could change. If I were changing these, I could change them both, and when I'm finished, hit enter, and it changes both of them. Okay? So that is another way to go about doing this. I really don't like everyone being muted in a that's okay. Deep breath. All right, does that answer your question, Roya? I hope. Okay. The next one. The next question was they'd like the ability to move the search boxes or any of the boxes that pop up outside of the page border. So from what I understand, if we have it set up, say I've got my screen on and I've got this, you want to be able to move this outside. And no, we can't do that today. We've asked for that before. I think it's still on our list for now. I don't know if that's a feasible thing to do, but thank you for that, Melinda. Okay. Lisa, so those are the two questions that came up. Should we go ahead and go over our list of?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me, Laura?
I sure can.
Okay. Just a couple of questions while you're on the screen. How about, it appears that when you combine questions and you're using the question filter, if you get out of the question, it defaults back to not having those questions combined. Is there a way to have that, once you've chosen that, if you stay in that study, for that option to stick once you've chosen it?
Can you, so are we talking about the from shared codebook options, Lisa? Can you repeat that?
Yes, and when you have the combined questions filter, when you're using that filter, someone had said that the filter doesn't stick once you get out.
I'm not understanding. Do you understand, Julie? So Lisa, tell me where to go. Tell me what to do, so I can, because I think I think it does this. So tell me exactly where to go here.
The question, just the question, the feedback that I have is have the ability to have the combined questions filter to stick in a session. Currently, it does not stick. If you get out of a question, you have to combine the questions again.
Okay, so by combined questions, are we talking about from shared codebook?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so here's the thing.
They didn't specify that.
Okay, so when we go into from shared codebook or go into a question, there is a response settings option that allows you to say, when I start, I want to bring in the questions from the current study sharing the codebook. But if it's across studies, it will not bring them in, okay? So if I were bringing in responses from questions that share this codebook and some of those questions were in another study, I don't have the option to say bring in, you know, that would, and Lisa, as you guys at Ipsos know very well, some of us have questions shared across 400 studies.
Right.
And that would kind of, we just don't have that option right now. But if you turn these on, you know, you should, every time you come in, your questions should automatically be shared. And that's you know, it should be bringing responses. Your response source will be all of these shared questions. And even if you move a few of these out, so if I move some of these out, and this might be where we're getting to, because this might be it. If I move 2 of these out and then go back out and come back in, those 2 will be back over here on the selected question side. Okay? So the option is to just show responses from the one question that you navigate in through, or automatically bring up responses from all the questions that share the code book in this particular study. Those are the 2 options. It doesn't stick to just show, you know, yeah. So if you make changes to the list. And that is how it works today. Do you think that, and who is that request from? Maybe we can get some more feedback on that one.
It was from Malia in my group, but she's not here today, so I'll try to get some more detail on that.
And I know that Malia wants it, and I just from meeting with her, I know she wants to be able to just say, I just want to bring up 1, 2, and 3, and keep 1, 2, and 3 for now. But that's, and that, because we can do that in desktop today, and I know Malia uses desktop. And in desktop, we get to pick, and it sticks. Yeah, we pick and stick in desktop. But here, this is the way it works today. We can open a case on that, though.
One other thing, and again, not really, kind of an annoyance for some. When you are moving codes within the code frame, if you're just dropping and dragging, or dragging and dropping a code to move it, a box comes up. I like this feature better than in review responses with the red line, because to me it was always difficult to get the red line exactly where you need it.
Yep.
So if you go to move that code, and if you notice there are times, can you go maybe move it up? There are times when that move drag to new location covers up the code that you're trying to move. Yours is just staying right where, there we go. That sometimes, again, and usually it seems like when you're moving it up, but sometimes it will cover up the code that you're trying to move. And so it makes it kind of difficult.
I got it. So the pop-up, move, drag to new location, covers the code.
Right, right.
Sometimes. I saw that the other day, too.
And it's just, again, I mean, I like this feature better than the red line, but that box sometimes can be an annoyance.
Okay. So let's see. Let me just see something here.
When unlocked, icon tooltip.
See if that.
Oh, that might have done it, huh?
Do you see that?
I sure did. Got it.
Okay, so what we did is we went to when unlocked and turned off the icon tooltips.
There we go.
And that'll help with that one, I hope. Yeah.
And just
right.
a really good point here, especially, I'm sorry, Laura, but since you did mention that the users, a lot of these members from the users group are on the line. Those are the type of things we talked about in the last meeting. You know, we really stress that if you find yourself leaving Ascribe Coder and going to review responses to do something, one, because you just find it easier, maybe you're more familiar, maybe you don't think the system does what Ascribe Coder does what you want it to do. It's really important to bring up any and all of those things because, as you just saw, something so simple as unclicking a box can take care of something that someone finds an annoyance within the system. So I just think that just proves that point of any and all little things that you can think of that you want the system to do. Someone had talked about, deleting codes. You can't do it the way that you used to. There's so many things in Ascribe Coder that you can now do multiple ways that, and I think we stress this, you just need to find the way that works best for you, but you have to know about the number of ways and the options that are there. And that's how you get to it, by asking those questions.
Yeah. All right. Lisa, there are a few questions that came in via chat. Do you want me to address those, or do you want to continue to go with what,
sure.
What we have?
No, those are the two top of mind I had.
Okay. So there's a question here. When sorting, can you select only specific codes to be sorted? It looks like you can, and then it doesn't respect it. So when we're sorting, the sort option is in our right-click codebook menu, right? And the sort doesn't respect what you have selected. Rather, it will sort your entire codebook. If you turn off sort descendants, it will not sort the codes. It'll just sort your nets. With sort descendants, it will sort your nets and your codes. And then you have your options for sorting. So something that's come up, and this question has come up a couple of times, is, could the sort be an option up here so that it would so that it would just sort the net or the codes that I had selected? So could sort be part of the, I have these guys selected, I want to do something with them? Because we know that these tools, these 4 tools here, are only available when we have something selected. So we can only change color of the codes that we selected. We can only renumber the codes we selected. We can only change the case of the numbers we selected. But it has been suggested that we add sort to this list of things up here so that we had more control over what we sort, okay? And I'm really glad that question was asked because I'm often asked why we don't just right-click and renumber. And the reason we don't just right-click and renumber is because we asked for the ability to just renumber certain codes that we had selected, right? So that's why today, to renumber, we have to first right-click and either pick the codes we want, or right-click, select Descendants All, or deselect all. Right-click, select Descendants Codes, right? So again, the question was, when I right-click and choose Sort, will it respect those things that I have selected? And it doesn't. It sorts the whole code book. All right. So what we'll do is make sure that we add a case to discuss adding sort up here, so that we do free up the option to sort just those things that we've selected. Yeah. And yes, you can right-click on an individual net, and it will just sort that individual net. But what you can't do is just select 10 codes, and it will sort those 10 individual codes. All right. So I hope that answered that one. What else do we have? Okay, got that one. The next question for the code list. When we get the double-click to apply codes feature in the interface, I assume, and Stacy, I'm going to unmute Stacy. Stacy, you're unmuted. I see your question here, and you're asking, can you double click to apply codes feature in the interface? Are we talking about the single response interface?
Correct.
Okay, great. Yeah, we have a case on that we've been discussing, the best way to implement that. So what you're saying is, today we apply the Dixie code, and we have to go up here to move to the next.
Correct.
And I apply, well, I don't want to apply Sweetheart there. I do want to apply Dixie. And we click to go to the next. And you want a shortcut so that if you just double click on Dixie, it would apply it and move to your next one.
Correct.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
Just makes it a little bit more efficient on our end when
absolutely.
Coding.
Absolutely. Okay.
I also had another question in regards to when you delete a code. Right now, you can in this new interface, you excuse me, have to delete each code individually. So you have to right-click and go back, right-click and go back. So say, for instance, a particular verbatim has 5 or 6 codes on it. You have to, and you want to remove all those codes, you have to individually take every single code. So you have to go in 5 or 6 times to delete those. Is there a way for you to have like a checkbox by those codes that are there so you can just do one thing and select all of them and remove them, or just select the ones that you want to remove?
Stacy, we have a case open on this. I know you asked this question in a previous webinar. We have a case open on this. So the issue is that when we remove last codes applied and hit OK, it will remove Sweetheart, right? But it doesn't bring that response up for us if we wanted to, do further adjustments or apply a code in place of Sweetheart, because some people want to swap Sweetheart for another code or apply another code there. So what we would need to do is remove last codes applied again and hit OK. And yes. So we have a case to discuss making that a faster, more efficient process to allow for replacement of codes and to let us really edit that last one. So there is a case opened on that. Awesome. Thank you for pointing that out. I'm glad to share that with the users group as well.
Sure.
Okay. The next question from Jana. In desktop, we're able to find a respondent who had more than the allowed numbers of codes. Will that be available? Okay. So there is a way that we can, and I should probably go back to the multi-response. There is a way to sort and bring up the responses, or sort them by the number of codes applied. So if you do a number of codes applied, reverse sort, and then we'll bring up coded responses. I don't know if I've got any that are more than one coded here. Usually I do. Of course I don't. Hold on. Probably would help if I did a true search and not a single respondent search. Of course, I don't have any with more than one code applied here. So let me go back into my other. But yes, that new sort, or that sort allows us to bring up respondents that have, or sort our respondents by the order of codes applied. Let me see, any code applied, go. So you'll see here, if this were a single mention, the ones with 2 come to the top, and then the rest just have 1 applied. So that's a quick way to get at the responses that have more than 1 code applied. Okay, again, that was the sort, number of codes applied. All right, cool. I hope that helps, Shauna. And there's a suggestion here that when the code book's unlocked and we're dragging, that instead of showing it red when it isn't acceptable, to show it red when it is acceptable. And I don't know if that's something something we want to discuss more, I really hate everybody being muted. Because there's no dialogue, and that's part of what is the power of the users group is dialogue. Yeah, and that just isn't going to work. Let's see. You know what, Lynn, that is yours, and you are unmuted right now, Lynn.
Hello.
Hi, Lynn.
I just sort of find it distracting and confusing. You know, I'm used to it now, but it seems to me like it should sort of flash when you're in an appropriate place, not flash when you're in an inappropriate place. Like, you know, from a logical, you know, like a learning curve point of view. It's probably not a big deal. It's just that we were talking about that, and if we were talking about it, I could have thrown it in. It wasn't really worth a whole separate discussion.
Okay, got it. And I had another client kind of suggest that it flash yellow when it was acceptable and red when it's not, but I don't know if that was, I don't think I ever really put that in the Fogbugs, but it's there. So if other people would like to see something like that, just let us know.
Does it have to necessarily change colors, Laura, or can it, you know, like in the old system, it kind of would, I don't know, it gave you a little icon letting you know that that wasn't allowed. You know, would it necessarily have to change colors, or could it just, you know, be a circle with a line through it? I don't know, something.
Does the red bug people? I just know red is kind of like the not allowed color.
Okay.
Which would, well, we can talk more about that one if we think it's necessary. All right. What else do we have? I'm just looking through here. Okay. So I was asked again to show how to unshare codes. So let's talk about this. So unsharing questions. If I want to unshare Q11, what I can do is I have to, first of all, in my choose columns, I turn on my shared questions. So I've got my shared question column. I click on that, and I can hit unshare, and it'll unshare this Q11 from this series of shared questions. It's going to ask me, do I want to unshare? I say yes. So now notice that Q11 is no longer part of my share here. Okay? So that's how we would unshare questions from the codebook page. All right? Or not the questions page. You can also do the same thing when you're in the Copy Share Manager. If I'm showing it by questions in the study, you'll notice that the shared questions appears here. And you can unshare it that way as well. Okay. And you guys, most of you are unmuted right now. Okay. I see a question here that is there a way to search for a single respondent? And let me just go in here. So what we can't do today is search by respondent ID, but we can do a single respondent search for iterative questions. So when we do that, what it's going to do is bring up the first respondent and then all of its answers for the questions that are currently in the response pool, so from our shared code books. Okay, so right now I'm showing responses from Q11 under bar 1 through Q11 under bar 6. I'm showing my first respondent. And again, this is the single respondent search. So we can search for a single respondent that way across iterated questions. So we're coding one respondent at a time. But what we can't do is search for respondent ID or search by respondent ID. Okay? There's a question here, could we just go over all the open cases? We don't have enough time to go over all the open cases, but what I am doing is putting together a list of those that have been addressed and those that are still open after our next release so that we have that for our next discussion. Okay? Okay. Okay, somebody just said that they see on the questions page, this is Kelly. And again, you guys are unmuted now, so if you want to talk, you can. The sort order on the questions page is not new. It's just you would have to choose columns to bring that up. And it's kind of cool. What we can do is put in the sort order so that we're displaying our questions. We've got a, what is this? So now that we can view respondents by respondent ID across shared code books, there was actually a request to be able to sort by the question sort order, and that is actually going to be added in version 7.6, which is due for release on March 21st, right? Next Friday? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that is the sort order, and we can just click on it to direct edit it if we wish.
And Laura, does that stick when you're doing your output files, that sort order?
Lisa, you know what? We would have to look at the individual scripts. I know some of the scripts respect it, and some do not. And it kind of depends. But we could always give it a test and see. Okay. Okay. All right, so there's another about unsharing. And since I clicked on the first one in the group, the question was, can you click on any and unshare? You absolutely can. I could click and unshare 11 under bar 4. Just know, guys, that when you unshare, reestablishing that share requires the codebook merge map in Ascribe Desktop. So be sure that you need to unshare, so the codebooks don't need to line up before you unshare. Okay, cool. I know there's a few questions here from Kelly. Kelly, I'm not sure I understand what you were asking. I don't know what that. Maybe I can call her after and figure it out. All right, guys, and the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was a little bit about version 7.6 and what's going on with that. In version 7.6, we're going to introduce a spell check, and I actually do have version 7.6 up. And I thought I had a webinar study on here, but I guess I don't have it on here today. So let me go ahead and search for Laura. I'll use one of these. There we go. Okay, so version 7.6. We have this check spelling option. Okay, and the check spelling will actually go through and do just that. It's going to check spelling with our server-side spell check application. And you don't have to unlock it. I don't know why I unlocked it, but I did. We have a number of dictionaries that you'll get to pick from for checking your spelling, but I just wanted to kind of show how it works. I've added, I forgot that I had spell checked this earlier to make sure it was working. So let's just add. And then right click, check spelling. And close. All right. It will spell check your entire code book. Again, I just wanted to show that that's coming. This spell check will be available. This spell check will be available in Ascribe Coder, translation, transcription, edit responses, and edit respondent. Okay.
Laura, can I ask that you show how it will react when you have multiple misspellings?
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to let you guys know today how it works, but sure. Code property. Okay. And we're going to right click and hit check spelling, and it brings up those that were misspelled.
Wonderful, thank you.
And you'll notice that there's both an account dictionary and a user dictionary down here, so that you can add. You could add if you did need something spelled a certain way, or you want to add subnet and net and all of that. You could add that to your account dictionary. That you know.
And that will be in next Friday's release?
It will be in next Friday's release. That's right. Okay. There's another cool tool that I haven't played with very much, but just to kind of show you how this one works. Let me turn on my count. Okay. And what this one allows me to do is select multiple codes and then right-click on a code. I have to unlock my code book. So I select multiple codes, and then I right-click on a code, and it will allow me to combine the selected codes. Okay? So it allows me to combine the coding for those selected codes. And then gives me the option to delete the unused codes. So I just took 3 codes, or 4 codes, and combined them into one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, this is a request we've had for many, many years.
Wow. And that's in Friday's release as well?
Yes, it is.
Awesome.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Hey, Laura, moving back to spell check for a second. Has
Sure.
there ever been any discussion? It never occurred to me until I saw all the different languages. Has there been any discussion about, like, adding a medical code book or something like that?
So check this out. I believe we have in English medical.
Wow.
In here.
That's super.
Yeah. Okay.
And Laura, I'm
And I know there's
searching.
going to be a number of questions about the combined code options. We are going to schedule a webinar to go over that, the combined code, and the spell check. It might be just a 15-minute, half-hour webinar, just so that we all have that together. And we'll be creating a video to go with that as well.
I think Laura, if you could, make note of any of the new options available in Ascribe Coder that is released on the 21st, maybe just reviewing all of those in a session like that would be helpful.
Yeah, that version 7.6 release, I can do that. That'll be no problem. So one of the other things that's changing, or another option that we're going to have, is the alternate background color, so that when I search for verbatims, you'll notice that each verbatim is, you know,
Every other
the
one.
background color alternates for each respondent. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, good. And that was the alternate background color. All right. Again, it's an option, so it's not automatic for everybody. All right. We've also, and for some reason on my computer this isn't the best show, but there's a new help overlay that's going to actually be much better for everyone, so that when you choose help, and of course, there we go, we're good. When you choose help, it's much more tutorial. There's an option for applying codes or showing how to apply codes and all of this good stuff. So our help system has been updated. Okay, there's a question. Okay, got that. Let me see this question. Would it be possible to color on certain words in the code book and not the whole code? No, we don't have that option today, to just color certain words in the code book. I know that there are some users that have figured out how to do that in review responses, but we haven't introduced that option in Ascribe Coder. Okay, and there's this question that about merging codes or combining codes. Let me go into a different question and show that again, so we can talk a little more about that. And of course, I don't have a whole lot coded in this silly study. Here we go. We'll go into Q11. All right. So let's say that I need to combine Walmart, Jewel, and Walgreens into store brand unspecified. So I can choose Walmart, Jewel, and Walgreens. Right-click on store brand unspecified. I don't have to select the one that I'm combining these guys with. I only have to right-click on him and hit Combine Selected Codes. Notice that we actually have a list of these three codes: Walmart, Jewel, and Walgreens. Okay? Notice, too, that this code book is shared across 3 studies. So it's telling us where this code, store brand unspecified, will replace Walmart, where it will replace Jewel, and where it will replace Walgreens. Okay? But if one of these, if Walgreens actually had Walgreens and Jewel applied to it, it would also delete Jewel, and it would tell us there was going to be a deletion. Okay? So we do that, and it is now combined, it's now moved the coding to store brand, right? And when we hit delete, it actually deletes those codes as well.
Laura, is there a way to choose so that you're not changing more than the study? You know, can you pick and choose which studies you want affected by that?
I don't think so.
Because you might not want to, you know what I mean? You might have a code book that's shared across 400 studies and only want to change it to one.
In that case, I think you probably want to unshare it, but I don't know.
Would it have anything to do with what questions are being shared initially? Or no?
No, it doesn't. It's just to keep,
Right.
I think it's an all or, yeah.
Well, then I would really like an option to, you know, choose what's affected either by question, you know, or certainly by study, because, you know, you have trackers where you can't mess with old codes, or old data for sure, but you just want to adapt something new, you know.
Yeah.
And it also looked like it would delete the net if if it removed codes under a net, it would automatically delete that as well?
I think if the net was empty.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great. I'm just worried about changing data on other studies.
On multiple studies, that's true.
Okay. All right, and yes, that was the combined. Somebody said they had a hard time hearing, like what I was demonstrating right now. And this is the new version of Ascribe that's coming out on March 21st, okay, or the update to Ascribe Coder, version 7.6. It's not available today in the tool that you're using today, but the spell check that we've covered and the combine that we're looking at right now, and let's just say we need to, are all will be available. I'll just combine these to Hefty. I'm just making a big hole. And it shows where they're being combined and then where there are actually deletions. Hit OK. And it deletes those 4 codes. Okay, and again, it does do it across studies. I'm really glad that I showed it that way with this question. That worked out well. All right. Another thing that I know has been an issue for a lot of us was this you know, the last response at the bottom of the screen, not having any space there. So there is now space after our last response, so that when we apply a code here, we can actually see it without scrolling. So that's another good one. The other thing is Phrase Analyzer. There's a link from Phrase Analyzer to Ascribe Coder. Because a lot of us, that was one of the reasons people were still using review responses. They would build their code book in Phrase Analyzer and then right-click and go to review responses to renumber it and to fix it up. But now there is a link directly from Phrase Analyzer to Ascribe Coder. And those were the 7 things that the alternate row of colors, the help system, let me just see here. Okay, yeah, it's the next available. There's also been a bit of a change in the code that is suggested. So we're still testing that one though to see how it works. Yeah, so that's pretty much everything. Were there any other questions? You know, just verbalize them. I've got a lot of stuff that came in through the chat that I will be sorting through after the session. But if you have another question that you want to address right now, please just kind of verbalize them. We've got, what, 12 more minutes.
Well, I have a comment.
Okay.
I find, you know, I love the search again option, but I find that, you know, when you first go into a question, you know, once you, like, I guess right now you have everybody pulled up, so it's not showing that it's filtered or sorted. But,
right.
You know, when you go in the first time, you know, there's no way to tell what the settings are, you know, so you might hit search again and it's stuck from, you know, some other job. Like, there's no way to tell if it's filtered or not filtered, if you really need to hit search, or you can just hit search again. There's no indication until you pull something up. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's a really good point, Lynn.
And that's really irritating. And the search box is just, it's got to slide down. It's got to get smaller. I mean, it takes up more than 1/4 of your screen space. There's no way to really keep that open and work successfully. You're either taking up too much codebook room or too much response room. It's just, it needs to slide down underneath the edge.
And we have cases on this, Lynn.
I know.
From the discussions that we've had with you on making this, you know, making the search so we can put, what is it called? So we can
Clear it.
Minimize it?
Well, minimize, so that it can minimize and dock. Dock is the word that I'm looking for. Yeah, we do have cases on that, on just making the search box smaller, minimizable, you know.
Right. Yeah, but you can't shrink it down small enough and still have enough options available, you know, to really use it like you can in review responses. But, you know, it'd be really nice to know what's selected so you know whether you need to hit search or search again.
Yeah. Yeah, I just tell people to open up the search box the first time they go into a new question and use search
So
again.
is that going to, is that not going to change? I know that that has come up a couple of times, that regardless, whatever your last search was, that sticks. So is that something that is going to stay, or we don't have the option for it to default to us, you know, to do default to no search like it just says in review responses today?
It's not going to change for the version, at least from what I understand, it's not changing for the version 7.6 release on March 21st, but we do have a release at the end of April as well. And,
Yeah, even if we had the option, you know, to, you know, sticky search or not, you know, or clear search, or, you know, the option to set it for uncoded, or, you know, I know it's another option and makes things more confusing, but it's still a little unwieldy.
So as far as the search is concerned, you know, we've got a lot more that we can do here. It does take up more room. I still think it's better than what we have in review responses today if we could just get it in a way that we could minimize it, right?
Yeah, the
And clear
options are
search if we
better.
wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay. It's making sure, because there's, yeah, cool.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay.
Hey, Laura.
Yes.
We've been using the Ascribe Coder here quite a bit to do some verbatim audits. And one of the things that we're noticing is that when we do have existing filters or sorts going from study to study, up next to where it says responses and codes, if there's an existing filter or sorted that was carried from one survey to the next, in red it shows filtered and sorted. If I used an expression in the last that I was searching and it carries to the new study, if that's one of the keywords that's coming up, it's coming up bold red based on my settings in what's coming up. So I know right away, obviously this isn't all my respondents, but it's there. It kind of helps me to jog to say, oh wait, I might have something stuck to know to go back to either take it off to clear it, or, you know, to make sure that it's an appropriate filter that would still work, if that's helpful to anybody.
Yeah, but it only shows that when you first hit search again. When you first go into, so she's got an expression there. If she goes out of the question and comes back in, it doesn't show that it's filtered until she does that. So you don't know if it's filtered or not. You know what I'm saying?
Right, you've got to run and wait for it until you...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So again,
Also,
when I'm teaching, I tell people to do the search again, or do the normal search, set what you need, and then use the search again within that specific question. So, but I understand wanting the option to clear filters when you leave a question. I do understand that.
I love that it highlights things in words in red if you don't have an expression. But I wish there was a way, especially for QCing, that you could turn on red and hyperlink.
Got it. Because if I'm searching for...
It's one or the other.
Static, and I'll explain how this works. I think I've got static in here. Hit go. And in this case, static is part of the expression. So everywhere that it says static is underlined, but it's not highlighted in red. We lose the red highlight, even though that's what we searched for. So you would like the word that we searched for to be highlighted in red and underlined.
Yes, or, you know, the option to turn it on or off. Like I say, especially for QCing, it would be really helpful to have the, you know, a word in red without having to delete the expression and then go back and put it in.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So,
Laura, now that I notice on your response screen, could you refresh my memory on having the respondent ID on the same line as the verbatim versus
Sure.
a line of its own?
Place text on new line.
Oh.
When you use place text on new line, then the information about the verbatim will be on one line. So study ID, question ID, respondent ID. The verbatim will be on one line. And if I turn on, let me turn on notes. Notes will be on its own line, translation on its own line, transcription on its own line. Okay? And that, again, that's place text on new line. If I turn that off, it all just runs together.
Are they looking at having translations in a different font or unbold or to distinguish it from the regular
Right.
the in-language verbatim?
Right. So one of the suggestions that keep coming in is that the ability to have, so on the font settings, to have translation, transcription, and notes, to the ability to set the font for those. And we've even been asked if we could change the color of those, you know, set a color for translation, transcription, and notes. When we talked about that, the consensus was that there's a lot of options to have to go in and mess with or to mess with. But what we did do, or what has been done, is that when we add a note, the notes are in italics automatically, always in italics. Okay. Again, that's a case that we have had open. I'll check to see if that's still open. Is that something, so from the group, Lisa, could we get a consensus? Is that something that that people would find helpful?
Absolutely.
I've seen it come through a number of times, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
This is Heather.
Especially regarding translations.
Okay, all right. Somebody else was speaking.
Yeah, sorry, this is Heather. I was going to say that I love that transcription is not in italics anymore, but I may be alone in that.
Okay. So Heather, then you don't want it to be automatic. You would prefer, if it is added, that it's an option.
Yes.
Okay, because you like that it's, okay, got it. Okay, thank you, Heather. Anything else?
I did have one other question about filtering by date. I know that I've mentioned this, so it may already be in the works, but currently, when you go from question to question, you have to like check the dates each time if you're filtering. Is there any movement towards resolving that? So that it respects
Heather, I haven't used this one a lot. So you have to each time. So if I put it on this,
it won't respect the dates when you move from question to question.
Oh, okay.
Which is a problem for us. I mean, probably for a lot of people.
So you want the date to stick from question to question.
Right, if we're filtering.
And it should automatically stick.
Yes.
So if I go into another question, it will not. Is this the same question?
It does sometimes.
Oh, okay.
You have to check every single time. And like when we're doing monthly stuff and we only want to look at a range, it's problematic.
Got it. So this is 311 to 314. So sometimes it sticks, sometimes it doesn't. Got it.
Yes.
I'll make sure
I sent a note about it, or a note about it, but
yeah.
I would also really like to see a time range added to that, you know, last hour, last 4 hours, you know, whatnot.
So Lynn, when you're asking, so you're asking that we have a time range filter?
Yeah. You know, like say you were working and something crashed and you just wanted to be able to pull up the last hour's worth of work or what have you.
Should those be canned? Not that we can set, but like last hour, last 6 hours.
I don't know. I'd be okay with, being able to set it precisely, but a range would be better than not a range.
Okay.
And also, while we're on this tab, it always starts with filters and sorting. I'd sort of like that to be, it's so funny. We either want things sticky that aren't or unsticky that are. I'd like whatever the last tab you used was, either filters or sorting, to stick the next time you open it, but it always opens to filter.
Okay.
I just tend to use more sorting than I do filtering, so, every time I have to click on it, it's like, oh,
so you're always having to click on sorting.
Right.
To change it. Okay. Stick this, unstick that.
Exactly. Options, and then we complain because it's too confusing.
All right. Well, guys, I know we've extended. This is our hour is up. I thank you guys for dealing with the sound issues in the beginning, and for all the good questions, and for letting me combine our webinar, Q&A webinar, with the users group. And if there are some questions,
thank you for your time.
Well, there are still some questions that I haven't addressed that are in the chat. I will go through those and address them kind of individually. And I will do, as Heather has asked, I will put together a list. We'll have the 7.6 release items together, and then things that are still on the list that have been Ascribe Coder requests, and what we're doing with those. Okay.
Any of I'm sorry, Laura, this is Lisa. Any of the questions, you had mentioned that there were a number that came up that you haven't had time that you would address individually. Is there any way that maybe you could send those to the users group so we could, again, so much of the information has been so valuable. I personally would hate to miss any of it, so is there a way you could share those as well?
Yes, for the ones that aren't specific to that particular client, absolutely.
Right,
I'll share
sure.
that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I have no problem sharing. One other thing, again, any of you that are still using review responses, the single response coder interface, or edit the code book, remember we have scheduled to remove those in June, so June of this year. We will no longer have access to review responses, the single response coder interface, or edit the code book. So if you find yourself using those, feel free to send an email to Lisa. Feel free to send an email to support. Feel free to send an email to any of us letting us know why you still have to use review responses, because I want to make sure that everybody knows, in June, review responses won't be there. So if you're using it, why are you using it? Is it something that can be addressed? Is it just a learning issue? Or just let us know. Okay?